What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another daily video. Hopefully your day is going well. I posted a quick review of Refunct, which comes out tonight, tomorrow on the Xbox One. It's a really interesting first-person platformer that comes out for $3. But anyways, on to today's topic, and we're going to be talking about backwards compatibility, as it seems like it's back in the news again for a bunch of different reasons. Now, as you may know, Sony's boss, the head of global marketing and sales, Jim Ryan, he had some interesting things to say about backwards compatibility in an interview with Time magazine. He basically said that when we've dabbled with backwards compatibility, I can say it's one of those features that is much requested, but not actually used much. Obviously, Sony would rather remaster those games, like the Uncharted collection, Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, God of War, etc., and make people repay for them again, right? I mean, it's a business decision. I get why they do it. And they say that nobody really uses backwards compatibility. Now, if you may remember, a couple years ago, one of the big announcements, I think it was E3 2014, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe 2015, Phil Spencer announced that they were doing backwards compatibility with the 360. And a lot of people questioned whether or not the program would continue year after year. People said it would just be like a cursory token gesture, maybe 50 games. But as we've seen over the last couple years, that is not just a token gesture. There are almost 400 games in the service. They're adding stuff almost every single week and getting as many games in there as they possibly can. They recently added Black Ops 2, which cracked the top 10 in NPD, which kind of flies in the face with what Jim Ryan said about how nobody actually uses it. But then that might be an outlier because, after all, at the end of the day, that is Black Ops 2, one of the biggest games of all time. Now, interesting here is we have an article from Ars Technica. Actually, really good article. It delves a lot with percentages, statistics, and facts, and not so much opinion-based, right? I really recommend everybody go out there and check this article out. I'll have it linked in the description. They went and they wanted to see how many people were actually playing backwards compatibility, and they sampled through a third-party API. It's all very complicated, and they go through their methodology and stuff in the article. So go read it for yourselves. But they found some interesting things, and I wanted to talk about this because, yes, this shows that not a lot of people use Xbox 360 games, but I'm going to get into why that doesn't really matter and why that... Well, I'm going to get into why it doesn't really matter anyways, but let's continue on, shall we? So, based on 930,000 Xbox One users on Xbox Live, sampled between the dates of September 26th to 2016, February 12th to 2017. So we almost have, what is that, 6 months of data. We can see that 54.7% of those users played Xbox One games, 16% played on Netflix, 6% played on the TV app, 6% played on YouTube, 14% were other non-game apps, and then you can see there 1.5% Xbox 360 backwards compatible games. So yeah, 1.5%. That is not a huge number from the 930,000 sampled users. Now, you can question their methodology or statistics. Maybe they picked 930,000 people that don't play backwards compatibility games, and there are 30 million people on Xbox Live. That's neither here or there. I mean, you can, with 930,000 people, you can build an accurate statistical data model. I mean, that does seem like a pretty big user group. So I'm just going to take this information as true, and I'm going to say why that Xbox will keep on supporting backwards compatibility even if nobody uses it, because it's a good thing for them to do. We'll talk about that, and I'll mention why I think they'll keep on doing it, right? Now, here in the article, it says those backwards compatibility numbers might seem shockingly low. 1.5% is pretty low, but they do line up broadly with Microsoft as reported. The company said in late 2015 that the Xbox One users had spent 9 million hours playing 360 games on the Xbox One in the feature's first month or so of availability. That may sound like a big number, but it averages out to just a few minutes of playtime for each of the estimated 19 million or so Xbox One owners around that time. And that was when the feature was brand new and attracting a surge of initial interest. Now, my personal take on backwards compatibility is that I don't care for it. And let me try to explain that. I played a lot of 360 games in my life. I played all the ones that I wanted. I finished all the ones that I wanted. So when the feature was announced, I was excited for people that didn't play those games. I played all those games. I'm a different gamer than a lot of people out there. I have no interest going back and playing 360 games I missed, because basically I played them all. But I see the value in the service. It's better to need something and not have it than not need... Oh, no, hold on. I got the saying wrong. It's better to not need it and have it rather than need it and not have it, right? It's better to have backwards compatibility and never need it rather than not have it at all and you actually want it. Now, there are a lot of people out there that do use backwards compatibility. The Black Ops 2 case is another thing, but there's also a part of the article here I wanted to read as well. In the end, only about 1.5% of the more than 1.65 billion minutes of Xbox One usage time we tracked was spent on the 300-plus backwards compatibility titles. This translates to an average of just 23 minutes per sampled Xbox user spent on 360 games out of 1,500 average minutes in Xbox One usage during the same sampling period. So basically, they're trying to get across that the feature itself nobody uses. And when they do use it, it's a very, very small scale. But Phil, and this is where I'm getting with that, they'll stick with it despite the low usage numbers. And honestly, the only people that have the true usage numbers of the data about who plays backwards compatibility games on the Xbox One is Microsoft themselves. They're the only ones who know, right? And I don't think they went into this thinking that it would make them money. I think Phil sees this as a promise to current and future Xbox owners, even past Xbox owners. We invested heavily into digital games last gen, the rise of XBLA, the rise of all digital marketplaces that we see now, right? And pretty much he thinks and he says that they as a company have to honor that promise that we spent all of our money on this digital stuff. It's only right for the company to then make sure that those games are playable on the Xbox One, on the Xbox One S, on the Xbox Scorpio, on the Xbox Scorpio successor. That they're making a promise that if you spend your money on this digital marketplace for these games at Xbox, you can rest assured that those games will be playable on future systems. That is the promise by Xbox. So despite 1.5% of people using it in this thing, even if it was 0.5%, I believe Microsoft thinks that promise is worth doing, even though they'll see no immediate tangible benefits. I think this is more a long-term play when we start moving into other directions, because we have here Jim Ryan talking about, well, nobody wants to play backwards compatibility. And the question is, with the PS5 probably coming up in a couple years, are they going to allow PS4 backwards compatible with PS5? We already know the answer from Microsoft. That answer is yes. All Xbox One games will play on Xbox Scorpio, and all the 360 back and pack games will also play on it there. They've made a promise to the Xbox consumer that their catalog of digital games, and physical games too for that matter, because you can just put the disc in, will continue forward. But Sony hasn't made that promise yet. You know, and it's weird to hear Zach come out and say those things, even though it may be true. And judging from the numbers that Ars Technica has uncovered, it looks like it is true. It is a really much requested feature, but not many people use it because they want to actually experience new games. But like I said, it's better to have it and not need it rather than not need it and have it. So even though I have no interest in playing a 360 game and I have no need for backwards compatibility, there may come a day where it's like, oh, I didn't play this game and now it's free with Games with Gold or something. Maybe I want to play it for a few minutes. And I appreciate Microsoft making the promise and the commitment for my current catalog of Xbox One games to continue on into the future, whether it's 5, 10 years. That makes me feel safe and secure about my digital purchases or my physical purchases with Xbox. So I think that the backwards compatibility thing, despite the data saying that nobody uses it, is a long-term play. It's a promise from Xbox to its user base. You can safely play here, and you will be able to play your games on any of our systems that we make in the future. And that's why I think backwards compatibility matters. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button. Consider subscribing for more content. And I will see everybody later.